All right, we're about to dive into one of the wildest, strangest, and most powerful visions in all of history. We're talking about a desolate valley, a carpet of dry, sun-bleached bones, and an entire army that rises right out of the dust. It's an incredible story of death, resurrection, and hope against all odds, all brought to us by a truly one-of-a-kind prophet.
So to really get this, we can't start with some abstract idea. Nope. We have to drop right into the middle of the scene itself. And trust me, it is a shocking one. Okay, just imagine this. You're suddenly standing on a valley floor, and everywhere you look, as far as you can see, there is nothing but death. The ground is just covered in dry, scattered human bones. It's a scene of total, absolute desolation. And the silence is deafening. Hope didn't just die here, it feels like it was never even born.
But then, something breaks the silence. A sound that just does not belong there. A rattling. And you're just watching, frozen, as the impossible starts to happen right in front of you. Bone finds its bone. Skeletons start clicking together. An entire army of the dead, assembling itself from the dust.
And it doesn't just stop with skeletons. Next thing you know, these threads, these sinews, start weaving themselves over the bones, pulling them together. And then, boom, flesh just appears, miraculously covering the skeletons, forming complete human bodies. So now, the whole valley is filled with bodies. Thousands of them. Perfectly formed. But there's a problem. A big one. They're not moving. They're not breathing. They're just lying there, silent and still. It's like the resurrection hit pause right at the last second. The suspense is just unreal.
And then, the final act. A command goes out for breath, for spirit, to enter these bodies. And it does. You hear this collective gasp as chests start to rise. And then, one by one, they get to their feet. Suddenly, it's not a valley of bodies. It's a massive, living army standing where just moments before there was nothing but death.
Wow, I mean, what an image, right? It's completely staggering. But it leaves you with some big questions, like who is seeing all this, and what in the world is the point? Why this specific, surreal vision? To figure that out, we have to meet the guy at the center of it all.
The man at the center of all this is the prophet Ezekiel, and you really can't understand his wild visions unless you understand the absolutely desperate world he was living in.
See, Ezekiel wasn't talking to people who had it easy. Not at all. He was speaking to a generation of exiles in Babylon. These were people who had lost everything. Their home city, destroyed. Their sacred temple, burned to the ground. They were captives in a foreign land, and they felt like their entire story as a people was just over.
And here's something you have to get about Ezekiel. He didn't see himself as just a wise teacher giving advice. He believed he was a direct line. He'd even be struck mute, unable to speak a word, until a divine message came through. The idea was that the words he spoke weren't his own, they were coming through him.
And get this, he didn't just talk. The guy was basically a prophetic performance artist. For example, to show people what exile would feel like, he literally packed his bags in the middle of the day for everyone to see, and then at night he dug a hole through a wall and escaped. He didn't just tell them the message, he made them feel it.
So this brings us to the real heart of his message, and it almost always breaks down into two parts. First, a really harsh diagnosis of the problem, and then a totally radical promise of a cure.
And you can really see those two sides of his message right here. On the one hand, you've got the fire of judgment. Ezekiel was blunt. He told them exactly why they were in this mess. But on the other hand, there was this incredible promise. Not just that things would get better, but a promise of total inner transformation, replacing their hard, unresponsive hearts of stone with living, beating hearts of flesh.
So you can pretty much sum up his whole job like this. Part 1, deconstruction, breaking down why this catastrophe happened because of their actions. But then, Part 2, reconstruction, a message of pure, unadulterated hope, promising a future restoration that seemed completely impossible.
All right, now that we have all that crucial background, let's circle back to that wild vision of the dry bones. Because now it's all going to click into place.
So this vision, it's not a zombie movie, okay? It was a metaphor. A huge, cinematic symbol meant to hit home for a people who felt like they were drowning in despair. You could think of it as the ultimate visual aid for a national comeback story. And Ezekiel makes this crystal clear. He's told that these bones are the people of Israel. That feeling of total desolation in the valley, that was their daily reality.
They were literally saying things like, our bones are dried up, our hope is completely gone. They felt dead and forgotten.
So you can imagine, when those bones stand up as a massive army, it's like a direct, visual knockout punch to their despair. The message couldn't be clearer. Even if you feel this dead, this scattered, this hopeless, you can live again. This was a promise not just about surviving. It was about a whole new life, a national resurrection.
And trust me, the dry bones vision was just the tip of the iceberg. Ezekiel's prophecies are jam-packed with some of the most surreal, mind-bending stuff you'll ever read. Like this famous chariot vision, with its spinning wheels covered in eyes, and these bizarre four-faced creatures. This guy didn't do small scale. He thought in epic, cosmic terms.
You know, Ezekiel's story is such a powerful reminder of something that sometimes when things are at their absolute worst, maybe the most necessary thing we can do is dare to imagine an impossible, hopeful future. It kind of makes you wonder, right? When we feel like we're just scattered bones in a valley, where do we find our own radical visions of hope?